latecomers at the back, you should come and sit on the front. It'll be much more comfortable. There we go. You want it louder? Okay. You're a bit deaf? Well, yeah, come and sit on the front. There we go. So let's bring you up a bit. There we go. How's that at the back? Oh, that's a bit distorted. That's a bit nasty. There we go. Something like that. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. We've got a packed evening for you with ample refreshments. Hopefully, we will be having a break in a little while to get more. And I'm told there's like 60 bottles of beer left in the fridge, so don't be shy. We've actually had an afternoon session today, which I'll tell you a little bit about. But before we start, can I just big thanks to Atos for providing ample refreshments in the venue. So, yeah, these kind of events wouldn't happen without the support of people like Atos, who provide the venue and support the funding of all these refreshments. So again, very much appreciated. Thank you very much. And if anyone else would like to help us host future events, please do get in touch, even if that's just supporting the refreshments. That sometimes is all we need. So yeah, please do get in touch. Who is a member of SMPTE in this room? Quite a few of you. Oh, excellent. Who's not a member and willing to admit it? Oh, see me after. So SMPTE is a global society. It is a membership organisation for technologists in the media industry, and anything to do with the moving picture and the associated sound to go with it. It is we like to think we're a diverse group. We definitely have got quite a wide range of membership, and we try to kind of hope that we make ourselves very welcoming. So for whom is it their first event? Oh, a few. Well, I hope it's the first of many. Again, as you've all probably learned in this industry, it's all about networking and building those kind of relationships with people. And I've always found that these SMPTE events are a great opportunity to talk to your peers, find out what's actually happening in the industry, and make those connections. But, if you're a bit like me, you're probably a bit introverted engineer, because we're all a bit like that, who doesn't really like talking to people. But if you keep coming to these events, you start recognising the same faces. We like to try to think we're welcoming, Please do make an effort. If you see people standing around looking like they're not talking to someone, bring them into your group and introduce yourself. If you're a bit nervous to do that, they're probably a bit nervous too, so please do try to make the effort. We like to say we're all on the welcoming team. Please do build that community. Now, for those of you who aren't members, and even those who are actually, I should remind you the value proposition of being a member of SMPTE has significantly improved in the last couple of years. So obviously, if you are a professional in your industry, it's about £130 a year. But if you're a recent graduate or a student, we can get that at a much lower rate. But members now get full access to the standards, which again, that's quite a huge perk that used to cost about £1,000 a year. There's also quite a large catalogue of online training, so self-paced online learning. Has anyone done any of those? A few? Oh, it's Stuart. I've seen Stuart do a few of those. Well, you created one. In fact, I registered for your one the other day and I've not started it yet. But yeah, they're available for free to members. You have to pay if you want a certificate that you can put on LinkedIn and stuff, because there's a cost associated with that. But just to do the courses, which are pretty detailed and pretty good, especially Ian's ones. There we go. But yeah, please do take a look at that, because it is an important perk. And of course, the Motion Imaging Journal. So if you want to keep across what's being developed in this industry, that's there, and a big back catalogue. So again, if you're doing research, that's worth knowing. SMPTE UK is mainly us bunch of volunteers. There are 5 of us in the room today. Thomas, we've now recently kind of brought into the UK fold, because he's actually one of the staff members at SMPTE. He manages all the Director of Standards Development. So welcome, Thomas, to the UK kind of crowd. Hopefully we'll be seeing you at more and more events. But yeah, we have got quite a wide range of us, so I think there's 17 faces on that page. We've also got the president at the moment, in Rich Welsh, so we're a community of people. But again, we're always looking for more people to get involved. So again, I'm what's called a manager at large, which means no one wanted to vote for me when I put myself forward. But I'm happy to help anyway. That's what we do. So again, if you're willing to get involved, that's what matters. This afternoon we heard from a few different voices. We'll be seeing all but one today. So thank you very much to Christian. You won't get another round of applause today, but the others you will be seeing on a bit later on. So let's look at what we're talking about. So first off, we're going to have a couple of presentations. I'm going to invite up in a moment Lydia Hubbard from BBC to talk about kind of her views on control from a broadcaster perspective. And then we're going to hear about SMPTE's newest standard, ST2138, better known as Catena. So we've got John Naylor has come over from Canada. I assume you're based in Canada, John, wherever you are. Yeah, you are based in Canada, I assume.
San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, Texas. Oh, okay. But yeah, Brit, proper Brit though. So, there we go. So yeah, he'll tell us all about Catena. So for some of those who were here this afternoon, that's a bit of repetition, I'm sure. But again, it's an important new topic. We will then have a break for getting a bit more beer and pizza and comfort break, and then we'll come back in and we'll have a panel. So again, I'm sure the members of those panels will reflect on any discussions and high points from this afternoon's discussions. So yeah, we'll see them later. Right then, where's Lydia? There you are. So all please be very kind to Lydia. It's her first time presenting. She's very nervous. You'll be fine. All these people are here to support you. You know. So yeah, I'll hand you over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Oh, we want to up to yours. There we go.
Lovely, thank you. So, hello everyone, my name is Lydia Hubbard. I am a Solution Manager for Control Systems at the BBC, and I thought I'd ease us into the evening with a little chat on our perspective on control as a broadcaster. So, for us, control technology is fundamental to everything we do. It underpins every part of the transmission chain for both audio and video work streams, supporting studios and galleries, as well as playing an important role for support teams and master control rooms in terms of infrastructure, monitoring and alarms. As part of our recent strategy, we have decided to adopt BNCS, which we are contracted to by Atos as our kind of control platform. And an audit last year identified that we have around 3,500 instances of BNCS running across our estate in terms of driver and client machines, and this is spread across about 70 physical locations. A challenge for us is that most of these locations are quite different. There's some major differences between sites as well as some smaller ones, and this is in terms of things such as hosting, whether it's on-prem in the cloud or a hybrid, in terms of if we've adopted virtualization, versioning of BNCS, and even down to things such as the programming language that we use, and even the panel designs. It's quite different across different sites. Our control environment must interface with a range of different broadcast devices from many different vendors, including mixing desks, comm systems, GPIOs, power devices, as well as effectively communicating between different sites. So a control system does truly sit at the heart of our operation, and with the scale and diversity of our estate, it's something that is both essential to manage and something that we can find quite challenging. So moving on, thinking in terms of standards. For a control standard such as Catena that you'll be hearing about later this evening, this has numerous benefits, many of which would help us address some of these challenges, as I mentioned. The first of these is operational savings in terms of deployments. When following a standard, we have less bespoke work required, and there are fewer unknowns, meaning that we're not starting from scratch every time we need to do a deployment or make a change. This doesn't just apply to control. In fact, I was on a call yesterday and the comment was made, we were looking at UID labelling for unique identifiers for cable scheduling, and the comment was made, oh, it would be great if we had a standard for this. And I think it is quite useful to have just that real life example of where something as simple as labelling schedules is where a standard would help and just take that extra step out of planning stages. Another benefit is interoperability. If we're all working towards the same standard, we can guarantee reliable integration of systems from different suppliers and avoid vendor lock-in. This is a challenge we found with our comm systems, and at the minute we've got kind of a divide between Riedel and Qualicom, with no straightforward way of integrating between the two in a unified way to communicate, such as via SIP. Riedel has been used at several of our large core sites, such as BH in London or Central Square in Cardiff, but we are exploring the adaptation of Clearcom and feel like there's quite a lot of work that's gone into that, rather than we felt like we've had to start from scratch really with those installations rather than being able to reuse some of the stuff we've already got in place for Riedel. So a standard will allow different vendors to build on each other's work and help new products to enter the market faster. But of course, it's important to not acknowledge that this may not be the best position for vendors and does introduce challenges in terms of marketing and competitiveness. Another thing to talk about is every time we need our control system to talk to a piece of kit or a new interface, having a standard removes the need for extensive development work, and we're more likely to be able to reuse existing fit-for-purpose modules and share resources with similar deployments. So a current example of this is how we reuse use a standardized RESTful driver to talk to API interfaces. So also another benefit of a standard means that we can assure high quality and that best practice is being followed, allowing us to utilize automation tooling, such as by generating config files, which can also prevent the appearance of bugs in kind of XML and INI files, preventing the need for human error. So there are some of the benefits of a standard. I'm sure there's many more, but I won't bore you with those. Moving on to what makes a good standard. So I think an effective standard should be clear to follow, outlining guiding principles and best practice for what we're trying to achieve, and it should have efficiency at its core. We had a discussion the other day, and the test of a good standard is where it's so seamless that it becomes invisible. So we see standards around us every day that we often overlook or don't think about. For example, in terms of electrical safety, cable adapters such as USB XLR, how we connect on the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, even for non-technical things. I was reading the other night that there's an ISO standard for the caffeine content in coffee. There's just standards all around us that we don't really think about. I think another aspect is, as well as being clearly defined, a good standard should be bounded and find the balance between regular review to stay up with accommodating new advances in technology, but without being impactful or impractical to implement and stay on top of. An example of this for us has been with NMOS, which was discussed earlier this afternoon. And I think the NMOS specifications for discovering, connecting and managing IP resources is something we've been trying to conform to. But at the minute for us, it kind of feels like it's quite open-ended and it seems to be constantly evolving and changing. And it's quite difficult to stay on top of these changes, especially for something we're developing in-house. So at the minute, it's been quite something that's been difficult for us to adopt and something we want to think about going forward. I think it was mentioned earlier that live massive installs such as Central Square seem to be where these NMOS standards are best adopted, and I think that is true, and it's something we need to kind of identify and work towards fixing in the industry. So moving on for that, as I said, we haven't adopted any specific standard in terms of control for the BBC outside of BNTS, but we are actively taking steps to try and standardise how we work across our estate, and this does feel like a step in the right direction. Let me move on. So looking at some of our standardisation actions. So for our control systems, we have an approved group of BNCS developers and SMEs that are dotted in different teams across the UK. So these have all different ways of working and writing BNCS code, and a key task for us as a broadcaster is trying to get these teams to collaborate and work together to be better aligned to deliver projects that aren't bound to locations. An ongoing project we've got in-house that has highlighted the benefit and importance of this is the BNTS replatforming project, where we're working to update old failing physical hardware and operating systems. I know a joke was made in the afternoon session about Windows 7. That's exactly what we're doing. We're removing Windows 7. So this has been helped by working with SMEs across different teams, and this has been successful by sharing best practices to try and speed up the project, particularly by templating and using automated scripting, which removes some of the workload around this. By templating for local radio, which is the stage of replatforming that we're on at the minute, we were able to standardise how panels are presented to users as well as technically. So the look and feel has been standardised with a single style sheet that kind of outlines colours, contrast, flashes, all that sort of thing. And this has been accessibility approved, and it's something, it saves us going around the loop every single time we need to do an install or put out a new bit of kit. We don't have to send it off for approval with the accessibility team every single time. A common set of coding tools is something we're also pushing, and having a single shared repository in GitHub. At the minute we have a system that is kind of, our code base is divided across various platforms such as GitLab, SVN, and even on some file servers, which is not ideal. This makes it easier to share code if we're all on a common platform, and ensure we're all working towards the same software guidelines and take advantages of some of the benefits in terms of AI that GitHub provides, such as GitHub Actions. As I touched on earlier, another standardisation action we've taken is look at standardising across drivers. So we've developed a new internal framework called Control Bridge, which abstracts some of the low-level configuration for device drivers, and provides a tried and tested methodology for writing drivers. And this has really simplified the way we get that done and sped up workflows. A final example I'll go into is the approach to new projects. So a current example is the Tea Factory, where BBC Birmingham is moving out of the mailbox into the old Typhoo Tea Factory in Digbeth. And as for part of this work, we're trying something new and making Digbeth into kind of a campus site and amalgamating our control systems in terms of local network radio and TV, and presenting this as a single unified BNTS system that allows for better interoperability and management. We're continuing templating this by building on the Lava model that we've developed for BBC Radio Cambridge. That was our most recent building move, and this integrates Lava with BNTS by Ember Plus. Last slide, thankfully. But one final thing I've not mentioned is security. So a good standard should have security at its heart and ensure that security standards and best practices are applied uniformly across the estate to avoid the risk of vulnerabilities. Security is essential for control systems, and we're currently working with key stakeholders at InfoSec to upgrade our security policy for control, providing technical and non-technical guidelines for how we can protect our systems from accidental operation and exposure to malicious attacks. So this ranges from technical specifications such as firewalls, access control lists, transport layer security specifications, particularly important for inter-site connections, to more human-based guidelines in terms of authentication, log-on, and installing devices in secure apps rooms and secure locations. A key part of this work is identifying how we adapt security measures for different networking infrastructures, and identifying differences between isolated and converged networks to manage inter-site communication. Strongly authenticated, encrypted connections are essential, and this is something that was highlighted again in the afternoon session. And we're currently migrating to BNTS 5.5, which replaces the older CSI 32 transport protocol with XDS, which does offer benefits in terms of packet level encryption, which is something we're really excited about implementing. Several other areas are covered by our security policy, ranging from virtualization, platforms, hosting guidelines, and how we utilise AI. But as part of this work, it's important to consider how we find the balance between securing our system without limiting operations in terms of flexibility, resilience models, and troubleshooting. So we want to avoid the position where lockdown becomes too restrictive. So the security policy update has been quite a large bit of work and has required input from various teams across the BBC, whereas if we had a standard to follow, this would be heavily simplified. And if we could improve security across the controls layer, this would be extremely beneficial and allow us to ensure that consistent security models are applied and give us better oversight of these so we can check whether regulations are being followed, where at the minute it's quite hard to police these sort of things. That's all from me, I think. So thank you very much for listening. That's a bit of a brief, high-level update. Are there any questions? Sorry if I rushed through that. I was a bit nervous.
It's fine. It's well done. I was impressed. Very good. But for the first time, that was very, very impressive. Any questions for Lydia before we move on? Maybe time for one or two, if anybody. Yeah, Lydia's here all that. I'll throw a mic to you.
Thank you. That was a really good presentation, and I want to pick up your point about security and not limiting the systems for operational use. I asked a similar question at a previous meeting, because anyone that works in a live production environment will know how difficult it is when you're continuously being asked to authenticate into system, having to type complicated passwords into a live system. What approaches are you taking to that so that you're not hampering the on-air environment but also maintaining a secure system?
So I think as part of this, it's quite important to actually speak to the operators that are using these systems and kind of build up user stories. So I know something we were looking at is actually timing out PCs after every, I think we initially stated every 5 minutes and put this into the security policy. But after kind of speaking to some of the operational teams, this was deemed that this would just be silly and then keep locking out after every 5 minutes, which just would not be useful. So we actually worked around this and increased it. But I think just having that two-way conversation is important in terms of that. And yeah, in terms of passwords, I think there's got to be clear need for there to be authentication and that sort of thing. Does that answer?
Any more? Right, in that case, thank you very much, Lydia.
Thank
Round
you.
of applause again, please. Right, we're now going to have some fun trying to get the barcode click share to behave. We'll give it a try. So we're going to hand over to John. We're going to have lots of fun with this click share technology today. So bear with. Hopefully it'll just magically work this time. Let's see. Do you need power as well? Or is it
No,
gonna be all
good.
right? All good fun. Fingers crossed. Yes, Adam Marshall had tried to give a demo of sort of the GVAMP stuff in the kind of break between the sessions this afternoon, and it was extremely sluggish, very, very painful, but it's always the way we overcomplicate these things. Just give me a HDMI cable. You know. All these fancy things.
I'd settle for a VGA cable right now.
It's always fun. This is where we have to have faith that it worked.
Oh,
There we go. There we go. Hurrah! We won't applaud Barco, no. Applaud the patience.
okay. Which mic?
Yeah, it's very sluggish.
Thank you. So, slideshow mode. So this is a presentation I've been giving to customers over the past 2 weeks. I'm just at the end of a 2-week tour around a lot of our customers in a lot of countries here, so I'm pretty tired. And I'm going to skip through this one and this one because we're talking about Catena and or SMPTE 2138 control. But I do have a demo as part of this presentation that will include MXL. Okay, Catena. I've got the elevator pitch written across the middle of this slide. Catena, or ST2138, is a secure cloud-scale standard that lets applications and user interfaces control devices. It's open source, and multiple vendors have used it. Probably more people have heard of Catena's forebear, which is OpenGear Protocol. Can I have a show of hands? OpenGear Protocol? Yeah, quite a lot. So, OpenGear Protocol is a de facto standard. It is, we've got well over 200, possibly even 300,000 OpenGear frames in the marketplace that we build and ship at cost. And that means that there are well over maybe 2 million solution slots in the marketplace that can be occupied by cards, solutions made by OpenGear partners, of which are about 150 at last count. In order to be a solution partner, an OpenGear partner, you need to sign a piece of paper with Ross Video that's an NDA, essentially. There are no fees, no AMWA fees, no SMPTE fees, no fees whatsoever. And for that, you get the benefit as a solution vendor to focus on the business logic for what makes your up-down cross-converter the best one, or your fiber card. So we're talking about companies like Multidyne with fiber, a Pantac with multi-viewers, AGA with lots and lots of solutions that all make solutions to this format, this standard, and they've been able to focus on their bit secure in the knowledge that the control plane has been a de facto standard. They talk OpenGate protocol, and there's a free control client called Dashboard, which is available on ROS Video to download. So we're building a de jure, I don't use that word very often, de jure standard, Catena, on the back of a de facto standard OpenGate protocol. So this is the demo I'm going to show. I'm going to hold my breath until this changes. So this is a picture of the dynamic media facility, which is a software-defined production concept or vision that runs on generic host computers. You can go and buy your hardware from HP, from Cisco, from Dell, from whoever. As long as it meets the minimum requirements, you can run a DMF workload on it. And what I've got demoed here is a number of media services that perform business logic, they do useful things with video and audio, and they share that using the excellent MXL SDK, which is the work of Grass Valley and Lavo, thank you, who've made an open source repository available on GitHub that we've used to put together this demo. The other part, the other SDK that you'll see here is the Catena SDK, and that's something that ROS Video makes available on GitHub. It's a BSD 3-clause license, so free, non-contaminating. And the other SDK that's in here is the NDI one, which we use to serialize, convert some of the MXF flows into NDI so that we can see them. The control side of this, we've got clients represented by these blocks at the top. You can talk to Catena using Postman. That is a typical DevSecOps tool. You can fire up Postman, talk to Catena either using the gRPC protocol or the flavor, or the REST flavor. We've got plans for secure WebSocket support and web transport over QUIC support. They're not done yet. The SDK availability is limited to REST and gRPC right now. So that's a demo. Importantly to the demo is orchestration. Catena is not an orchestrator. That's somebody else's job. Catena is for monitoring, control, configuration, and administration. Orchestration is typically done using tools like Terraform. That's a very widely used infrastructure as code solution. Its owner, HashiCorp, tried to monetize it, version 1.5.6, I think, and some companies like Google, Microsoft, and AWS didn't like that, and so they made their own fork. That's a good thing about open source. You can take copies and then keep your own copy up to date, and that's what those three companies have done. And so there's this pretty much Terraform identical solution out there called OpenTofu. They've got a lovely logo that is a piece of tofu with a smiling face, and it's an orchestrator. So the demo that we've got today is our orchestrator is going to spin up some containers. So those media services that I showed you on the previous slide will come to life. It will then wait until they're ready and then provide an initial configuration. And that's something about this demo that's hard to see, but it's a big deal, because normally when you spin up some containers and then provide an initial configuration, that initial configuration takes the form of a blob, or a binary large object, an opaque, uninspectable piece of binary data. With this demo, we're actually using the Catena protocol to send in that initial configuration. So inside the OpenTofu files we have, here's the initial configuration as text. That means that this workflow is authourable. You can crack open VS Code, you can write a workflow as code, and then have it appear. That's a significant difference. Once we've got the initial configuration, then clients will be able to connect and operate it. And then the last part of the demo which is just as important as the first 4 steps, is once we're done, we can get rid of all those resources that we're using and stop costing us money. Okay, here's a picture of the demo. So I've got, I'm going to spin up 4 different containers on Linux, and 3 of them are pretty much the same. They convert transport stream files into video loops, and the video loops get converted or get pumped out as MXL flows into the ring buffers, and we're using the MXL library to do that. The process or the service or the microservice in the middle is this little MXL to NDI mini router. It will pick one of those flows and turn it into NDI, so that over on the client we can have the video in the UI, and also get some details about the flows. So I'm going to break out of PowerPoint, and I'm running a Linux VM somewhere. Didn't learn my bifocals today. So I've got a Linux VM here. It's called Ubuntu for Dev Work, and I do have a terminal open on it. So if I type, say, uname here, you can see that I'm running Darwin. Wait a minute. Do you have the silent put it down for microphones?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Thank you. So now I'm in a Linux machine. If I go uname, then I'll get Linux. And I'm going to show, do this, let's see. Oh good, I've got some history from last time I was running. So if I do docker ps-a, that will show me that I currently have no containers running. And if I do a tree of /dev/shun, that will look at all the shared memory in the on this virtual machine, and there's nothing there. So I'm going to go and move into this MXL Catena folder. This is a publicly available repo, same BSD3 clause license. So this repo is on GitHub. This demo is available for anybody who's interested in it. And I can go to start things up, tofu start. And this is going to go through those first 4 steps, spin up some containers, wait for them to be ready. This takes 20 seconds, I think, and then put the initial configuration in, and now it's ready to go. So I can open dashboard. So this is a currently shipping version of dashboard 9.16. It's available from rossvideo.com, and it has built-in support for Catena devices. You can talk to Catena devices using dashboard. So we get a user interface onto this demo. Now there's some interesting things I want to show you here. I'm going to go back to the terminal to show you this. So now we've got a workload up and running. I can go and repeat those steps. So docker ps-a, I've got 4 containers running. 3 of them are derived from this TS to MXL. This is a transport stream to MXL converter. And the other one is this MXL to NDI process. The other interesting thing here is, if I go and look at the tree, if I look at the tree, then we've got an MXL folder that is now populated by files in shared memory. So the individual flows have these long names, and underneath them we have the data, the shared memory, the grains or frames in the folder, and we have this flowdef.json file. I'm going to go and put them on the screen now. If I can find it in my history, and if the GUIDs haven't changed, this will work. It worked. I didn't expect it to. So this is, as you can see, this is a simple JSON document, and It's got information about the whatever flow that was. So you can see it's got a color space, it's a standard one. It's got 3 components with bit depths and resolutions, widths and heights. It's got a description. It's got information about its format. It's an XMOS format video. 1920 by 1080. Frame rate is 30 frames a second. And that's enough information to be able to attach to that flow and use it if you're a downstream process. This is where we get interesting. All of that information has been pulled by the process out of MXL and turned into ST2138 parameters. Catena, ST2138, it requires you to build a device model. The device model has 2 main sections in it. One is all the parameters you have, that's stateful information, so faders, buttons, information about an MXL flow in this case. So all of that information has been pulled and put into Catena format. It's a very simple format, and now it can be displayed in a Catena-aware user interface. The other thing I can do is talk to a parameter which is controlling which flow I'm looking at. So this is going to do a set value to a parameter that is the source chooser. And so now I'm choosing the middle source, and you can see that the information on the left has changed to show that it's PAL resolution and it's 25 frames a second. And I can change to the next source, and this is something that's 1080p and it's 60 frames a second. That's kind of the demo. It's showing Catena/ST2138 controlling microservices that were spun up using OpenTofu and used MXL to share those flows across shared memory in a Linux machine. The last thing I need to do is to stop it all. So I've got a tofu stop command somewhere. Okay, this will tear everything down. And if I do this tree, you can see that we've got nothing left in shared memory. And if we do the Docker PS, we've now got no containers left. So it's not costing no money if this is on a cloud or something. How much time do I have left?
I've not been paying too much attention. Maybe 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. I did have one. Well, let's see if this will work. So,
I suspect there'll be questions as well. So
right, yeah.
we'll have time for that.
So this is a ROS Platform Manager, and this is hosted in AWS, and this is another Catena device that I've got running. It's an example one you can download and get running on your Linux machine. It's open source again. And what this is, it's an audio deck. It's got a few controls on it that I can goof around with. I can go and change faders. But the point of this demo is that Catena, like Open Gear Protocol before it works by being self-describing. There's no a priori knowledge of the client that is needed in order for the client to put together a reasonable user interface and allow you to control it. So that begs the question, what if we gave an AI the same a priori knowledge? What could we do with it? And the answer is, well, quite a lot actually. So I'm going to start a new conversation. This is an AI tool that has understood how to talk Catena, and so I can do things like like how to type with one hand. So let's say invert, because that's easy to type, channel 6, and go over to here, and you can see that channel 6 has been inverted. So that's talking to the device over AI controlling the device, setting it a value. We can also ask it questions like this. What is the freak of channel 3, say? and it's 85 Hertz. Let's go and check. Channel 3 is this one called staging test mic, and yeah, its frequency is 85 Hertz. So that's, anybody who's coming to IBC will to get a deeper dive into this. Sorry, IBC, NAB. We're showing this at NAB and plenty of other stuff, as well as the previous demo I showed you. I'll finish now with just a list of what open source resources we do have. And I will send Ed all of these links, and I'm sure will reflect them to everybody here, and everybody who is here this afternoon. And so on the SMPTE GitHub repo, there's the actual interface definition as code. It's there as protobuf files and open API specifications and a large number of JSON schema. Because we've got JSON schema, there's a validation tool there as well, so you can author a device model and run it through the validator to see if you did it correctly. There's also access to the public committee draft documents, of which there are now two. One is the -10 document, which is the device model document. Another one is it used to be called Catena Security, it's the -50 document. Now it's called something longer, like access, authorization, confidentiality, and blah, 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 blah. It goes on, but it's a security document, and because it's public committee draft, that means that even if you didn't put your hand up as a SMPTE member, you have access to it. You can go and read these documents, and you can comment on them using GitHub's issues feature, and please do. We have some Catena SDKs available. These are hosted on Ross Video. Ross Video's GitHub sites, and they are BSD 3 clause licenses. There's extensive onboarding documentation there too, and we have a petting zoo. If you want to get a Catena service like that audio deck running on your laptop, then you can. It should take about 5 minutes if you have Docker installed. It's just Docker run, image name, you should have it. And then you can go and poke at that service using Postman or download dashboard from the Ross Video website. The DMF demo that I gave is also available at Ross Video's GitHub, and it's again the same permissive license. And that includes the OpenTofu orchestration piece. Finally, a little bit of mention about the maturity of our SDKs. The C++ one is quite mature. We've got 98% unit test coverage there. The Go one, which is one of the newer ones, it's looking about 90% unit test coverage. And we have a tool written in JavaScript that will take a device model that you've authored and turn it into C++ that you can compile. It will take your, say you did a parameter that was location, and it had two fields in it. One was latitude as a float, and one was longitude as a float. Well, that would turn into a very obvious C structure, which is called location, and it's got two fields. One is latitude, and it's a float, and one's longitude. And you can basically it will put that in a header file for you, and define the object in a C++ file. You can go and compile that, and now it's part of your business logic. And with that, I will wrap it up and answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for John? Stunned silence. Who's going to break? There we go.
Hi John, I'm really about to undermine the whole premise of the evening and talking about standards and a new standard, but watching the demo of AI there, something strikes me that if AI is able to read any API and work out and translate that, are we actually heading to a point where we don't need standards because the AI just works it out for you? And are we heading to the point where we don't need control systems to have drivers because the AI becomes the driver? And I could be completely wide of the mark there.
I don't think
I'm
you are.
normally terrified of AI, but that's quite compelling.
I don't think you are. I think that could really happen. In that particular example, it's very annoying to type put fader 3 at. So I'm going to talk to it. Oh no, I'm in a control room. I can't talk because it'll be picked up. So sometimes a control surface is still the right way to go. But I actually agree with you that this MCP, which is a technology, and it basically understands APIs and does stuff you want. It turns prompts in any language. So I could have typed to it in French or Klingon probably, and it would have understood it and done the right thing. So I think I can't read your name from here. Mark. I think you could be right that AI might democratize, facilitate, or remove the need for all of this.
Anyone else?
Hello. So,
Peter.
Actually, so was AI used, or would it have been useful in any of the coding of?
Oh, we use AI for coding all the time. It's actually our developers are told to use AI. What did make this tractable is that it was actually the multi-language support that we put into Catena to upgrade it from OpenGate Protocol, which only supported English or one language. So if I had a parameter called fader, it would be FADR, and that's how dashboard would draw it in the control screen. Now we can have multiple languages, and you have EN for English, FR for Global French, and we put one in for AI, which is where we put this is how to use this control for the AI, and luckily nobody used the two-letter code AI to represent a language before, so we kind of hacked our way in there.
Quick follow-up and different question. So obviously this is a SMPTE event. How was the experience of putting Catena into
through SMPTE?
34 CS, and did you get useful sort of improvements to it for
Yes.
the wider community?
Yes. For one thing, it was quite rapid. It's taken about 2 years, and we used the OSA
Open Services Alliance.
Yes.
Open Service Alliance Rapid Industry Solutions process, which definitely made things faster. And we got good triangulation, more than one pair of eyes, more than one point of view, which definitely improved the quality of the documents.
Is there one at the back? Can you pass it behind you, 2 rows and to your left? Thank you.
Hi there. Also on the AI topic, so obviously your model context protocol is able to use the information provided to determine certain features. How can you use that in a sense to provide a greater context of what that feature actually is? Because obviously you can understand it in terms of the device, perhaps that this is the level of this device, but in a wider system context where devices can be used for a variety of different purposes, how could you give it information via Catena on what adjust this, so you'd be able to speak to the AI rather in terms of adjust this level on this device, but say something like adjust the audio level in the room.
Yeah, really, what you want to be able to do is, say you've got a number of talent on stage, and one's called Matt. Mike's probably a bad name for this. Andrea. Bring Andrea up in it. Bring Andrea up in the mix is what you want to say. And how to do that, I don't know, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. It's, you're on exactly the right lines. That the demo I gave here is pretty clunky. Well, it'll seem clunky in 3 months' time, and where the scenario where you can actually talk in terms of the production you're trying to do, the artifact or the piece of artwork you're trying to deliver and create, on those terms is where we want to get to.
Anyone else, or should we take our break? Oh, one over there. Maurice.
That was up. Yeah. There you go.
Maurice.
Hi. We might talk later about the wider industry adoption of ST238, but this is partly a sort of selfish question from me. But how is the rollout within Ross's pretty big product catalogue? I mean, when can we see this being a practical way to control some or all Ross things?
Okay, we've got some. I don't want to talk about specific products because NAB's around the corner. We'll do it then. But we had this come up earlier. There's a chicken and egg problem, and we've addressed that by putting support for Catena in our 2 main device control or workflow control solutions, dashboard, which is still a free download, also will be as far as I'm concerned, and also a real upgrade on dashboard, which we call ROS Platform Manager, which gives you, among a lot of other things, gives you dashboard in the web, which is something that I've been anxious for years. So you get the same user. I was actually using ROS Platform Manager in the AI demo, which was showing a dashboard user interface rendered in a web page. And one of the benefits you get from that is, dashboard is on your user's desktop, talking a clear text protocol to your devices. Ugh. Move to RPM, now your user is using a web browser talking HTTPS to ROS Platform Manager, which is on a different enclave. It's a gateway into a network enclave where, even though it's talking clear text, you've got more segmentation and more defense. So that's just another advantage to that solution.
Right, thank you very much, John.
Thank you, everybody.
Another round of applause for John. Thank you. Right. We're going to take a 10-minute break now. Go and get yourself another beer, drink. Don't know if there's any pizza left. You did a pretty good job of it. There might be some scraps, you never know. But we'll reconvene in here in 10 minutes and we'll get the chairs set up for a panel. See you in 10 minutes. Right. Come in and take a seat. There's plenty of space up the front, as always. We put the worst chairs on the front, so we knew no one would sit on them. Right, on with the discussions. So I'll introduce you to our panel chair, Chris Gil from Atos.
Good evening. Oh, press and hold.
Good evening.
Sorry. I'm Chris Gil from Atos. This is the second time hosting a SMPTE event here. We had one quite a few years ago, 2018. We had an early days of NMOS event when ISO 7 was fresh and new. This evening we've had got an interesting group of people gathered during the afternoon session. We have a very interesting range of topics that were discussed in the forum this afternoon, and we'll draw upon some of the topics we covered during this evening. I have a few questions to get people going, but this is definitely an event for everybody to ask their own questions and get what they can from our speakers. So, just to introduce myself, I'm a solution architect for Atos BNCS. I've been doing BNCS for 30 years now. Bridging the days from when we had analog electronics with serial cables and GPIs.
Security.
It was a much more secure thing. Yes, no hacking available. But one of the key things back then was we were building touchscreens to replace physical buttons with lamps, which needed changing, with buttons with transparencies that needed replacing every time you change the name of the source. So it was actually a natural thing to do back then. It's got a bit out of hand now, putting touchscreens in cars so that you can actually control how your car works. It's not a very safe thing, but in broadcasting it's fine. But obviously there's a resurgence of hardware buttons. You see stream decks everywhere. Hardware control panels are really, really important, even if the thing you're controlling is in the cloud. Okay, so can we introduce our guest this evening? So first up we have Lydia Hubbard, we saw earlier, from BBC. And John Naylor from Ross, previous presentation. Maurice Snell. And Adam Marshall. Pretty good. So
One of the things that we have talked about in the afternoon session, right towards the end, was the impending security measures, part of an EU mandate. I don't know if anyone of you can actually introduce the topic as well, called the cyber resilience. And I think it could represent a turning point in how broadcasters and as many industries have to deal with security, but also a potential turning point in opportunities for unifying a control protocol. Who's
Go ahead, Alan.
Okay. Hi everyone. The Cyber Resilience Act, CRA, EU mandate coming into play this year in part to declare vulnerabilities in any selling hardware or software by September of this year. So from a vendor perspective, that's causing some thrash and challenge as we look to understand what the CRA definitions really are and what the mandates of that are. But fundamentally, it's about making the products that are sold within the European Union much more secure. So any device that is connected to the network in any way must be either self-certified or third-party self-certified, depending on the criteria, to be sold. And to the point around whether it standardises any of the control protocols, I think it's slightly independent. I think ultimately the CRA is about making sure that if it's on the network, it has encryption, it has true kind of trusted access. The protocols themselves, if we look back to what we discussed earlier, that doesn't seem to be part of the initial mandate of it. But certainly the direction of the industry is we are more IT than ever before. Everything is moving to a software-defined or hybrid kind of architecture, and that needs a security-first kind of mindset, which is what I think as vendors we're all doing. It's just about bringing the more legacy products up to speed with the more modern stuff like AMP and other stuff like that.
The best paper that I never wrote, because IBC said no, was titled "Nobody Ever Code a Virus Over SDI." Well, and it wasn't really an offense of SDI, it was things would change people, you need to pay attention. But yeah, to address you directly, the CRA is unavoidable. Come September, as Adam said, vendors are obliged to report and therefore publicise vulnerabilities that appear in our systems. We have a 24-hour window to do that, and then follow up 62 hours later with more details. And ultimately, these vulnerabilities will become public knowledge because ENISA, the European Cyber Security Agency, will publicise them. That means the bad guys now have a list of all of your switches and graphic systems and telecoms and tallies that have vulnerabilities, and unless you're paying close attention, you don't. And I see that as I think that is a big problem for our industry, for our customer base and Adam's customer base. How are you going to know? I don't have any smart answers. Ross Video does have a product security forum that our customers can join, but that doesn't scale because you have more than one customer. Sorry, more than one vendor. There used to be something called an MEISAC, a Media and Entertainment Information Sharing and Analysis Centre. This is a way of working that is promoted by America's NIST that basically says how to share information. And they did have a Slack channel that contained vulnerabilities in media products, but I think they were too early and they stopped doing that. It was the MEISAC, go and look them up, and it was good work. We need what they had 4 years ago, we need it now. And we do have work afoot at both the North American Broadcasters Association and EBU, that they're talking to each other about maybe providing this as a service to the industry, because as well as all those switches and graphic systems and tallies that have vulnerabilities, the EUVD, the European Union Vulnerability Database, is going to be flooded with baby monitors and Wi-Fi enabled fridges and blah blah blah. This is going to go on. So getting the knowledge in the hands of the right guys is a challenge that we need to address, and I've got some ideas about how to do it, but it's going to need industry-wide cooperation to do it.
But I think one of the things that we talked about earlier was for the vendors like us, and for many of you in the room, it's about making sure you're compliant with the latest security asks. Okay, fine. That's our responsibility as vendors to make sure the products we sell to you are very secure, and that's great. I think the flipping on its head the elements for the customer or the consumer or the user of that solution, we touched on earlier, Mike was referencing around the change kind of management pieces. We were talking about the fact in software defined, it's very, one of the things that we from a grass valley point of view amplify or kind of convey most of the time to our customers is the need to get into release cycles. For broadcast engineering, that doesn't feel very comfortable because we're used to saying, right, at the start of the season, we lock the versions, we don't touch it until the end of the season. With a software-defined system, you have to keep up to date, because we don't have to, but it's highly recommended. You keep up to date and you move into a more IT mindset where you're updating every quarter, every month, whatever frequency that you want to be doing to keep up to date with the latest patches on the software and the host. I think what the CRA brings is that now starts to propagate down into the hardware stack. So into your FPGA modular gear, into your traditional standalone equipment, you now need to start updating that for the same reasons that Johnny referenced about exposing those vulnerabilities to the market. It's also about just your InfoSec and your security teams internally will be mandating that this is done. So from a vendor perspective, we'll be communicating and updating those where we can, but it is forcing, I think, a good shift where you move into a much more kind of focused release management kind of process on a regular basis for everything you do.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on another aspect of, Chris, your question, which is it a turning point, a transition? So if we take the spirit of the CRA, which is not the same as all of the sort of fine print and exceptions and so on, but the spirit is, take TSL as a fairly typical vendor. Every product we sell today is not compliant with the spirit of this, and 98.5% of the third-party protocols and open sound protocols that we support today are not compliant. So now, the messy reality will be a combination of the fine print and exceptions and so on, but where it is necessary, and increasingly is necessary because customers have less of what used to be secure of the entirely closed networks, and they have more of the multi-site and cloud and other environments where we can't just keep our heads in the sand. So where it's necessary, we are going to have these questions of, okay, so today I'm using Pro-Bell protocol, I'm using TSL protocol, and it's completely unencrypted, completely unauthenticated, and therefore insecure. So that doesn't work in those more challenging environments. So shall we use RS12, or shall we use Catena, or what should we do? And I think whilst it's not going to happen as a 100% transition by the sort of current deadlines of CRA, I think that and other imminent security legislation like the UK quantum-proof legislation for 2030, etc. I think we are going to have to escalate the move away from many of the comfortable, traditional, but totally insecure protocols that we've used for literally decades and that have migrated from serial to IP and have just kept on working. And I think that transition is going to escalate.
I think from a customer perspective, this does sound quite scary, and I think it's quite interesting that for us, are we relying on the vendors to report this information? Is that something that we would be needing to kind of implement a workflow for how this data gets reported? Is that something that's going to be covered as part of this work? And what do we do when that doesn't happen? These are all questions that I think are going to be things that are quite important for us to think about.
I think our customers are large enough and sophisticated enough, like the BBC and other broadcasters in here. We're just going to form very good partnerships and open communication channels. We'll know who to call, you'll know who to call. It's the smaller guys that know who we know.
Okay, that sounds promising.
Going back to Adam, on some of your points you're making about the MXL within AMP. I can't remember exactly whether it was a topic that you covered in the afternoon or earlier, but
Goes up, yeah.
But I think there was one thing that stood out for me in there, which was if you're going to run these cloud-first processes doing video infrastructure, you're not going to be able to hang REST APIs off these processes in the way that you're used to doing in isolated solutions that are running on premises.
I think I know where you're going. So when you think of your Kubernetes tech stack or deploying microservices to any compute or hosting anywhere in the world, you typically, if you did a roll your own, what you'd be setting up is direct VPN tunnels, you'd be setting up direct interfacing, maybe direct connects actually, direct directorates, and you would be telling your users, here's the URL, go to that for that, and if you want a different audio mix or a different kind of encoder or whatever it may be, it's a different URL. And often that's how we've always worked as an industry. Those solutions then, if you want to consolidate it or make it easier for your users, you put systems like Dataminer or you put your own custom homebrew system over the top as basically a bookmarking engine over the top. When we look at actually the context of what DMF is all about, as opposed to MXL, so MXL is the plumbing, MXL is how I move a video frame from one application to the other. DMF is how I then orchestrate everything from security, from the deployment, from an application orchestration, user interfaces, everything between. Quite a broad topic. When you start looking at that, it's meant to be focused around here's a single endpoint that I can then access everything I need no matter where it is. Okay? So from I think you're referring to what I was talking about, AMP. Yeah. So from a GDAMP perspective, that is a DMF compliant system insofar as the scope is kind of broadly drawn out so far. The DMF scope in fact is based on the AMP reference architectures that we have right now. And within that space, if an application is to be deployed and orchestrated by AMP, it must be part of the AMP control ecosystem in order for us to orchestrate and deploy it. And as such, the UIs are hosted and served through that as well. If you were to sideload an application, that would still work from a video transport point of view, but you would need to find other methods to get to that user interface. And what I was referencing earlier was that ultimately isn't in keeping with what the end users typically like to see. The operators want you referenced about panels, right? So an operator expects that that panel there controls that service, and whether the engineers are spinning up a switcher in US East, whether it's in US West or EU Central, they don't care. They're sat down and they want that panel to work. And if you start to sideload things and orchestrate them, you're ultimately having to build those connections on your own. What DMF is about is you don't need to. That is all handled for you transparently, and you abstract the deployment and orchestration, the engineering, from the operator, so operators and systems can be deployed in completely agnostic ways without impacting each other with strong identity and security at its heart. Makes sense?
Yeah, thank you. Any questions from the audience on that subject particularly?
Have a microphone.
Over.
Yeah. So just regarding the CRA, so you say that a vulnerability when found has to be declared very quickly. Does that mean you're expected to push out a fix for that very quickly?
I don't know, honest answer. I hope not. If you go to the ENISA's website, they say that they are a so-called CNA, which is another one of those compound acronyms. C stands for CVE, Common Vulnerability Enumeration, or Vulnerability, and NA is Numbering Authority. And quite recently, ENISA became a root level numbering authority, meaning they can author their own numbers, just like MITRE or CISA in the US. But as a coordinating, as a CNA, they say that they will do coordinated vulnerability disclosure. That means they'll work with the vendor to ensure that the vendor's working the problem. And when the vendor has a patch, and they normally set a deadline of 2 weeks after patch availability before they publish. So I don't know what the their expectations are. They could be unrealistic. They could be 90 days, which is getting to be realistic. They might even be longer if the arguments and the case by case is good enough. For example, some of the products we use depend on a version of Linux which is made by Xilinx, and they only make one release every 6 months. So if there's a vulnerability discovered on January the 1st in that version of Xilinx Linux, we've got to wait until July the 1st before there's even a hope of fixing it. So that kind of thing needs to be taken into account, and the powers that be at ENISA need to be realistic about that. We don't know. It's hard to contact them. It's hard to have these conversations with them. But the hope is that people are smart and not malicious by neglect.
Yeah, sticking with the CRA, I'm worried about unintended consequences. So, speaking as a human being rather than a broadcast engineer, I'm worried about the fact that it's going to be very tempting to obsolete a product rather than fix it, which will just lead to a load of digital landfill, which is not good for any of us, or good for the planet. And you can just see that coming because it will be cheaper, particularly for things like cheap consumer televisions, things like that. But as a broadcast engineer, I'm thinking about dealing with critical national infrastructure. SDI is really useful and still has a place, although it's a diminishing but very important place. And so, noting that there are two key vendors of big SDI routers, if you decide you're going to obsolete them because the old protocols are a pain in the arse in this new world, please give us plenty of warning. Well, because actually, bigger picture, the SDI router with a weak protocol on a secure network is probably more secure than the cutting edge for certain applications.
So I would say that ultimately, our intent from a GB perspective, and I'm pretty certain it'll be the same for John's perspective as well, is we don't want to obsolete anything, right? There will be certain products that, because we're going through the assessment process ourselves internally, there will be certain products that we're thinking, you know what, actually, that doesn't make commercial sense, or because it's not a product used in the field regularly, or it is such an architecture that there is absolutely no chance we can do anything with that. Now, as we were discussing earlier, there's certain exclusion or kind of discretionary kind of things you can kind of do around those. Incidentally, just because if we were to do that, that doesn't mean it's suddenly going to stop in your product, in your kind of ecosystem, right? Now, from our perspective, SDI, by the way, is not a dying solution. SDI is something that actually we're seeing big resurgence of, and particularly in the APAC and US regions. In the EU, we've got most of the 2110 kind of discussions, but 12G SDI is massive at the moment in terms of our discussions, and that's why we've got the new attack routers. We've got new investments we're doing across the portfolio on the ACE cards, for example. So it will always be replaced by something. It won't be just axed off completely.
No comment. He said everything I wanted to say.
Does the CRA distinguish between vulnerability by defect and vulnerability by design?
It distinguishes between vulnerabilities that are under active exploits. That's a critical criterion that makes a vulnerability something you have to notify ENISA of. The test is it's a vulnerability and it's under active exploit. They do the text. Don't read it. It's 280 pages. The English version is 280 pages, but Annex 1, which is about 2 pages, contains all of the actual hard requirements for vendors. So the answer is pretty simple. It has to be under active exploits. That's what makes it relevant to ENISA.
So as in, if it is by design but no one has exploited it, it's not reportable?
By design, you mean there's a buffer overflow somewhere? Or?
Just supporting communication via an unsecured protocol could be considered a vulnerability, but it is by design because otherwise you're missing a feature.
No, they require you to have best practices throughout your the whole life cycle of your product. So that means Microsoft had it best. Secure by design, secure by default, and secure deployments is basically what the EU took 280 pages to say. So design is important, and therefore protocols are important. There is a way to accommodate it, and that is that as part of the conformance documentation that a vendor like us has to deliver to support our self-certification, is that you have a document called an intended purpose or reasonably foreseeable use. And you can say the reasonably foreseeable use for this product is pretty much on a in premises which are staffed by professional trained people, that they right mounted inside rooms that lock and have access control. Once you've said all those things to say this is the intended purpose and reasonable foreseeable use, then you can start to say, and that's why it's not great, but it's not terrible to run a VDCP protocol, and it gets listed as residual risk in the documentation, and the residual risk comes with a justification for that, why that residual risk could be acceptable. And these documents are part of the conformance notation. Any customer who wants to can read those and then decide if those arguments and those reasonable foreseeable uses are within their use, or whether, and therefore whether the product is going to meet their needs. So it gets subtle quite quickly.
Like any good standard, it's open to interpretation. I think but ultimately that there's, to your, I think you kind of answered it, but an exploit or potential exploit is an exploit no matter how you get there. Right, you have to report it. How it's then certified and to what level that blocks you from selling the product is determined based on the other criteria about the context and everything else. So there's enough room there if it's needed, but of course ultimately none of us want to go down the path where we have to try to justify things. We'd rather just fix it in the first place if we can.
True, but in some cases, some things are just not going to be fixable.
Absolutely.
Like every single moving light and lighting desk under this will be insecure.
And I think that's the biggest concern.
Yeah.
I think all industries are having with the CRA. It's not just from the broadcast market. If you think it's manufacturing, it's industrial kind of oil pipeline, it's literally every single industry has this challenge. If I'm going to sell something to within the European Union, to be determined whether that's UK or not, but to do that, I've got to be compliant with these rules, and I think that's where the scripture of it is a little bit too by the book. The intent is absolutely perfect. I mean, great, it's fantastic, it's going that direction. But whether or not it will actually end up like that, we don't know. And I think, John, as you were saying earlier, we're all going to be told literally 6 weeks before we need to certify what the rules are. So, from a vendor perspective, that's a bit challenging, but there's a draft out there already.
Yeah, there's a draft out there. Yeah, there's a set of documents that the European Commission asked CEN and Senelec to draft. There are 3 standards. They are 40,000-1, -2, -3. If you put 40,000-1, 2 or 3 into Google, it'll take you to those standards. They're available from the BSI's website and also from other websites in other member states. And they actually give me a bit of hope in that they're still very much about have the right spirit, do the right behaviour, not meet these thousands of lines of do you comply, yes or no spreadsheets. So doing the right thing does weigh in our favour as vendors.
Before we move off security, quick question for the audience this evening. If you're running an NMOS registry, is the query interface secure? So how many people are running an NMOS registry? So is it secure?
Yes.
Because there was a comment in the afternoon which really got me thinking that an NMOS registry, which by design advertises its presence, if a bad actor were to find one, go through, find out all the nodes, all the IP addresses, all the services, the tags will tell you what the manufacturers are, and with a bit of AI searching you'll find all of the default username passwords, and you could get into everything, probably, unless it's all been...
It's only secure if it's on a secure network. Very secure network.
Yes.
And just to add to the list, of course, as John was saying, you'll also soon have this, all the vulnerabilities of all those products listed in one nice convenient place as well.
So that brings me on to the AI topic that was covered very interesting with the MCP demo earlier. My question off the back of that was, would that venture into adding AI features into the control platform, would that extend to things like, say, be able to feed in a Figma wireframe and say, build me a control panel and hook it up to things intuitively so I don't have to do it myself?
That's the sort of thing that Lydia's team is doing, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've been looking at GitHub Actions and trying to standardise kind of in terms of how we actually, what we ask AI to do for us on GitHub. So some of those things are quite straightforward, and I think we use it most kind of commonly for actually checking code rather than the actual writing part. So if we get kind of a draft for a driver ready, it's quite easy to just ask GitHub Actions to do the peer review on that rather than it going to kind of another developer. And it just saves us that kind of overhead in terms of having to get another person to look at something. So that's the way we're using it. Not exactly just typing commands saying write us a driver, but more the kind of checking and making sure that what we've done makes sense and is free from errors. That's the type of thing that we're looking at the minute.
And to answer your question, probably, at Ross we mandate that our developers make heavy use of AI. We've found it to be a huge productivity boost. And to go to the GitHub Actions point again, as things become more containerized, we've looked into how to do container security. A great tool we found is called Privy. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. But it not only walks your code base, your GitHub, to find problems like, oops, hard-coded secrets and keys, guilty, now removed. But it also is a way to address the security of running containers and containers at rest as images. So far, it's proven to be a good tool still in the investigation stage, but it's looking good.
So I'd say we've had a few panels about this recently, so from a development and internal perspective, Claude, GitHub Copilot, I mean, they're all a standard practice now in everything we do, and it's allowing us to accelerate, similar to what yourselves were saying a moment ago, at a rate of pace that means we can develop those little tools or those add-ons or those features at an extraordinary pace, number one. It also means from a code quality point of view, we've got AI review effectively baked into the CI/CD pipelines. That's on top of SonarQubes and all those kind of services. But I think what's probably more important, and you were kind of referencing it there in a minute, is from the customer's perspective, there's a major shift towards do I expect the vendor to develop these services, or do I, as a customer, develop it and interface with the vendor in the right way? What we're largely taking the approach of is a bit of both. So within AMP, it's AMP Assist is a chatbot, effectively, in the simplest of forms. But what it actually is a complex AI library, and our own LLM kind of integrations, that allow you to go and triage and support and ask questions about how do I onboard this, how do I do this? If you want to integrate with the APIs, hey, can you give me a TypeScript code base that allows me to integrate with the API to control the autofix? So yes, here's all the code you need, and go off and do it, because ultimately that's okay, because you've got security in front of it to make sure you don't go too far. We've then got the MCP agent implementations that then allow AMP Assist to go and do things like, can you, like your demo earlier, I want to route this to this to this, and then I want this to happen. And then if you enable the context aware and the MCP agent, then it will go and do that for you if you want it to. When we're having those conversations with customers, they're then saying, in our conversation earlier, I want to implement my own AI to your MCP. That's where things get a bit tricky. Because then you get from do I really want ChatGPT or an effective AI service the customer's using to have direct access, largely via a single API key, because that's the only way you're going to be able to do it, control of my broadcast system? Absolutely not. What we're actually finding is those customers are then encouraged, and we're advising, to build their own MCP layers, because that then allows the direct control locally on the network, rather than making it available to public APIs. Fundamentally, it's about, and I'm looking at regional sales lead to see if I can say the name of a customer. I'm going to say no for a minute. There's a customer that's done all of this with a major event recently where they've been doing full AI processing and automating the entire production pipeline for a show. So they're able to not only do it by voice, which is a little bit gimmicky in my view, but it's more about, if I click that button, it knows that means I need to do this, this, and this, based on the MCP logic. And that, I think, is really exciting, because if you think about why we're all moving to software defined and why we're moving to AI agents and APIs and things, and we've got these toolings coming out, it's about simplifying the entire tech stack, streamlining the workflow, and effectively making it more efficient for an operator to produce content so that they can produce more content for more kind of tiers of volume. So I think it's a really exciting time. It's moving at a rate of knots that it's challenging at times. We have to keep up. We're constantly being challenged by our customers, but it's pretty cool at the same time.
And I think in that area we're moving on from an era where infrastructure was on diagrams with cables and inevitably spreadsheets documenting the runs between the inputs and outputs of the devices, to stuff that is much of it today is handcrafted configuration. It's iterative. You don't necessarily have a plan of how it works. It just appears to work. And moving into an era of declarative infrastructure, but those declarations are going to be necessarily complex.
It's absolutely infrastructure as code. I think it is the terminology that most people kind of use for it. And we're definitely at the point now that is absolutely standard operating procedure for a lot of services. To an extent, it's limited in the kind of baseband domain. In fact, it's non-existent in the baseband domain. You can do it in 2110, of course. But the idea of being able to instantiate productions at scale based on automation and schedules, we've seen that with clients around the world. Warner Brothers Discovery is a great example where they're automating and orchestrating the deployment of entire production pipelines of control rooms and MCRs based on a control layer they've architected themselves, and simply interfacing down to ourselves and also down to AWS, which could also be via us as well. But it's allowing them to completely instantiate production pipelines of infrastructure and the applications and the user interfaces at scale, at a click of a button, whilst also having the per hour rates card and how much that production is costing you over time. Because ultimately it comes back to FinOps, which is, I want to be able to host that workflow at any time, in any place, wherever it's most cost effective for me as a business. And that's what these systems are allowing us to do, because as you say, it needs to be dynamic so that if one day AWS is costing me more money, I can spin up on Google instead. Or if my baseband, kind of my core use case is consistent enough, I can spin that on the ground instead and spin it to the cloud if there's a DR scenario. And I think that's really where AMP, but also DMF really speaks to, is saying, I can't have an individual Kubernetes stack on-prem, another one in another data center, and another in the cloud, without orchestration of the whole thing over the top. To do so, the engineering overhead and the development overhead, and while some organizations may have that, it's too complex. It's too difficult to manage with the speed we have to do things. And so what AMP and DMF, and hopefully other vendors when they bring that on board, it will do, is allow that to be one complete hybrid tech stack, so that as an engineer you don't care, as an operator you don't care, it's just defined endpoints where I can deploy on demand to the vendor.
On the, I wasn't able to attend yesterday, but the RBC Accelerator pitches, many of them were AI centric or building on AI. Question for the audience: are there any questions that you have for our panel on touch points between AI and control plane? Thinking about different opportunities and also threats.
That's a big endorsement.
So it's going to be fine.
Okay.
No, you.
I was only going to say, it is an interesting topic of who who owns identity and security if you give the keys to the AI services? So you've just got to be a bit controlled and considered about how you implement them. But I think what was said at some recent events over the last 6 months actually, and it was at DPPT this week from there, we're at the point where we're now finally understanding how AI, what the problem AI is needing to solve. We're also at the point where the tooling is in place to allow AI to solve that. So I think everybody's still experimenting with those solutions and understanding their own organisation, how best to use it. Part of the problem is going to be security, because I don't know how many people know that if you go into ChatGPT and sign up to a free one, by default, you're not privatising your data that you put into there. By default, if you have a free ChatGPT, you don't go into the config, everything you write in there and share in there goes to the public domain. We're reminded all about it. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is in terms of cost, return on investment. And I think as all the organisations are, it's a big thing we've been driving internally with our Chief Strategy Officer staff, is how we control and observe our use of AI and the cost of that to make sure we put the right return on investment of utilisation. And I don't think we're unique here. Every organisation in this room will probably have that discussion, whether it's yourselves or some others in your organisation. And that's going to be a continuing topic, because as we use AI more and more, the costs ultimately go up, and you've got to make sure that you're not saving yourself $10 but paying $100,000. Makes sense?
I was just going to say, I think that's completely right, and I think that's something we'd agree with at the BBC. I think there is still a weariness about AI, and there needs to be kind of clear, defined use cases for it, rather than just using it because it speeds something up, especially kind of around content. But looking at it from a control plane, I think the stuff with GitHub we've been doing, that's been quite useful. But again, we wouldn't just adopt AI for all of our workflows, as you say, because security is a major concern in terms of that.
And following up on that, the use case that you talked about, was that limited to the development and commissioning sphere for AI systems?
Yes.
As opposed to operation and allowing AI to...
Yeah, so that was something that was done by our kind of accredited BNCS developers, and it was looking at their own code that's on a private repository, not something that's shared with the whole BBC.
In the wider use of control protocols, one of the things that I see as a second-class citizen is asynchronous verification channels. For the control systems that we've had presented to us today, both the three newer standards and the legacy, any thoughts on where strengths and weaknesses are in notification versus set and get control?
Okay, I'll answer that. So we support both gRPC, which is based on protobufs for the message format, and on HTTP2 as the transport layer. And that differs from WebSockets, which is over HTTP1, and also REST, which is over HTTP1 or 1.1, if you're being strict. And one of the things that HTTP2 addresses is the so-called head of line blocking problem, which, imagine you ask your system to do something that requires it to go and get an asset from that's stored on a tape, and the tape robot needs to go and load. And at the same time, while the tape robot is doing its stuff, you have got to, your talent, your visitor on your chat show suddenly starts saying things that shouldn't be aired. You go and reach for the profanity delay, and it has to wait for the tape robot because you've got the head of line blocking problem on HTTP1. That's not really asynchronous status, but it's asynchronous control. Whereas with HTTP2, the command can the profanity delay command can overtake the thing that is getting an asset from a tape robot and keep your license. The other thing that gRPC and HTTP2 gives you is a streaming back channel, so that you can get asynchronous events. And even on our REST implementation, we use something called, what's it called now? Server-sent events, which if you open a connection to the device or the service, it will give you streaming updates. So the audio meters you saw on my demo, they were bouncing, and they were getting these asynchronous updates. So I don't see it as that big a problem. I think that even with REST, the command you use is get, but it works more like a watch command with SSE, service sentiments.
I think you're right that ultimately everything we're doing is asynchronous based, both control and the way we handle media streaming. So the MXL is the asynchronous pipeline. We previously called it frame cache, it's now MXL, and obviously we've got those gateway interfaces. So that's how we're handling the media pipeline flows, the video, audio, and ancillary in an uncompressed state. But then the control layer is all asynchronous based in the same sense. So it's REST API posts, and then it's listening to topics on the way back, effectively. Same as what John's effectively describing. What that allows us to do is ultimately do all of these actions and have a combined dashboard or combined physical panel with 10, 12, 15 applications and functions on that, and it can perform as well as a traditional hardware-based interface, that expected local TCP kind of communication. The reason that can happen is because we're effectively posting to topics and we're kind of managing it in such a way that allows us to kind of orchestrate. The challenge that always comes up is ultimately, okay, but there is a latency. Well, yes, because it's decentralized and you're 200 milliseconds away from where you decided to host that compute or that infrastructure, fine. But that's why we've also got the ability for the hub services, which allow you to effectively have an outpost of the platform on your local network. So if your client and your service are in the same network environment, then all the communication is just local as though it was a traditional system, whilst also pushing states back to the platform as well.
And I think the key is you're using MQTT or something similar. We're using server-sent events or gRPC or one day web transport over quick. None of that was developed for broadcast. None of it was developed for media. It's all generic IT common sense.
Yeah, and I think the same applies to the relevant bits of the NMOS family of specifications. So there are bits of NMOS that don't need that, but the IS-12, which is the sort of most direct equivalent to what 2138 does or what App Control API does, will also give you those direct WebSocket-based notifications. And many, but not all of the legacy protocols do that. So yeah, I think that's well known and understood.
Yeah, I think that's really important because we came from an era when I first started with Protobus 3PO2 protocol with low latency notifications. The prospect changed by anyone, and we've had a decade of REST APIs where you just have to keep holding it forever and just check if anything changed.
Yeah, that's not good enough for these real-time control things, absolutely.
Any thoughts on that? Okay, thank you. Ed, how are we doing for time?
Probably got time for a few questions if anyone has any.
Peter.
Of course.
Not so much a question, but just I guess a clarification to Adam. What you said about MXL just now made it sound like a grass-valley product, which is not. It is not. That's
no,
not,
indeed.
That's the whole point.
No, absolutely. So the frame cache code was effectively placed into the initial open repository, and then Lavo and GB, amongst others, were all part of that contribution as well. So the initial working group discussions, unless you correct me otherwise.
I am going to correct you,
yeah, no,
because it is basically a clean. I mean, obviously there will be ideas there, but it is new code. We haven't sort of copied in. Existing GB or Lavo or Eagle code, so
contaminating
that was, and that's a deliberate decision based on the way
What's
Thank
your
you very
license?
much.
What's your license on MXL?
It's Apache 2 license, so the MXL project it's an open source project in under the Linux Foundation umbrella with EBU and Naylor and Narva as the.
Do we have patent disclosure statements?
It happens through contribution mechanisms and the way these things do. So that's not something I'm going to start talking about quite this late in the.
Such an interesting topic.
But it is a really important point.
It is, but what I will say, it's a different approach to what you see from SMPTE with patent calls and VSF and AMWA with patent calls at the beginning of meetings.
But it's a really important point that no single vendor has any kind of ownership over that space, right? And while the contributory kind of concepts from Lavo and from GB and from many other vendors are kind of part of that, none of us have any clear ownership or want to own that. Because the whole point, as I was discussing earlier, the way that we scale and accelerate the cross-vendor hosting of these environments is that it has to be something that is compliant on all of those vendors' tech stacks. And it has to be something that, frankly, I mean, obviously the Century Art's part of that organisation, but we know video, we don't know audio in the same way, right? And there are many elements that every vendor in there is contributing to. What's brilliant about it is the pace at which it's kind of shifting, which caught me a bit off guard with the last conversation in terms of posting. But yeah.
I'll just say the same about the Catena SDK. It's a BSD3 clause license, which is non-contaminating, and Ross is going to do the same with Catena SDKs as it did with the IP for OpenGear, which is it's even freer now. We used to have to sign an NDA to get the documentation about OpenGear. Now it's up there on the web and that BSD3 clause. The same with SMPTE you got as well.
Question at the back.
Hello. I would like to know, given everything we've discussed tonight, over the next 12 months, maybe you can answer in a sentence, what you think the biggest challenge is going to be for each of you in your specific line of work, given everything.
Okay. The thing that I've spent most of my working hours on over the past, say, 4 months is the CRA. Working out the compliance, coping with the fact that the legislation is running far ahead of reality, and the late-breaking standards, and also the fact that according to ENISA's own workbook, they will only have the single reporting platform that we are all supposed to be using this September available by late December 2027. So that's what's keeping me busy and awake at night.
Right, well, I think we're at the end of our time, so thanks to that. You've got a point, right?
Oh, sorry. Well, I was just going to go on from that. So, apart from legislation, I think the rate of change and so this is a challenge for all of us. The rate of change and education within that. So the speed at which things are moving, and the speed at which we expect our teams, our organisations, our engineers, our operators to keep up with those changing dynamics and not be left behind. That is the biggest challenge I think that we have as an industry. It's probably all industries at this point, just because of the abilities to move fast.
Yeah, we can all agree with all of that, and AI is a layer within that, and finding the places where it's more appropriate and not the ones where it's less appropriate, and that includes the ROI that Adam talked about earlier. So, it's an opportunity, but it's a challenge, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say the challenge is probably standardising where we can, so that we're in a position to adopt a new standard if one seems suitable, and it's something that we're in a position to take on.
Okay, many thanks, and we are definitely at the end now.
Thanks, everyone.
Round of applause for our panel, so thank you to you guys. You may vacate the stage, and I'll invite John up to close the evening.
Thank you, Ed.
For those of you who haven't met me, I'm John Elton, I'm Chair of SMPTE UK. So let's have a round of applause first of all for Ed and for Atos for hosting us this evening. The refreshments, we want to talk about ample refreshments. This goes beyond ample. We're going to talk about bountiful refreshments, so thanks Atos. All right, if you have enjoyed this evening, we've got more coming up. We're kicking off our first meeting for a long time in Glasgow on the 3rd of March. Now, this has got a bit ridiculous, to be honest. We created this meeting, we found a venue, we mustered a large group of people, we advertised 50 tickets, they sold out. We increased it to 100 tickets, they sold out. This afternoon, I got an email from the ticketing system to say that having increased it to 150 tickets, that's sold out too. So whether we can find any more, I don't know. But if you can come to Glasgow, I'm sure we can find somewhere in the back of the room for you. So that'd be great. And then 11th of March, Leeds. Now, the Bill Lovell lecture. Does anybody know Andy Quested? I'm sure some of you know Andy. Yes. Now, if I look at IMDb and look up Andy Quested, he's known as a videotape editor back in the 80s and 90s on such amazing titles as Keeping Up Appearances and Top of the Pops.
The most sold BBC Studios programme.
Indeed, that's right. And they were Decreasing Circles and Instincts and Health. Anyway, look, if you're able to come to Leeds, come and join us on the 11th of March. It's at Levira's new broadcast centre, which is interesting in itself. And come and hear about the story of Andy Quested and everything he's done in the industry. It's going to be fun. And then one more thing that I can't advertise yet because I'm still negotiating, but towards the end of April, we think we've got the BT Tower for one last time. So you've probably heard the BT Tower has been sold, it's been turned into a hotel. It's going to take a while for BT to actually exit the building because it's until 2030, but the restaurant at the top is going to be closed in the summer. And I think I've managed to secure it for one evening. So assuming that we can get speakers and food paid for and so forth, we'll have an evening of technology discussion and views at the top. Anyway, keep an eye on LinkedIn and on the City website.
I would say we've been having lots of discussion about whether we should charge non-members for very popular events, and that one always sells out very quickly. So we may have to prioritise members quite strongly on that one. So join now.
Yes, indeed. So thanks everybody for coming this evening. And well, we're going around the corner. In fact, just over the road, I think. Is that right?
Directly across the
road. Yes, just literally over there. So see you over there. Thank you, everybody.
Just before.
One more thing.
As you're exiting the building, if you could pop these, there should be someone on the desk downstairs, just the ones with the number on it. You can discard your yellow name badges down there as well, or just chuck them in the bin. But I also just wanted to say a big thank you to Ed, because this is the first time we've done an afternoon and evening event. We've learned lots of lessons about how to organise acts. It's quite complicated.
I'm sorry if you didn't get to come to the afternoon you really wanted to. It was quite a packed crowd. We managed to have
had an afternoon session.
For students, yeah. Sorry. It's the first time we've done a focus group session on a standard, followed by an evening summary event. But yes, we have the Young Innovators event, which is last month, which has for the last several years hosted students and taught them things with workshops in the afternoon. Excellent event. But this is the first time we've done anything like this. And it was very complicated. And Ed did a lot of that organising, so big shout out and thank you.